my name's Eva and welcome to this channel. Today we are talking all about grinding. First, I'm going to be defining what I mean when I say grinding, and then talking about why I think grinding deserves its own full video. And then we will jump into why people love grinding, why it can be so satisfying, and then also talking about how to grind safer sex tips for grinding. Let's jump right on into it. So what do I mean when I say grinding? When I started to research creating this video, I realized that not a lot of people use the term grinding for this activity. Some other terms that came up were dry humping, scissoring or frottage, outer course, tribbing, lots of different words. All of these words have some overlap with grinding, but I really think that grinding encapsulates the sex act that I'm talking about. When I say grinding, I mean grinding or rubbing your genitals on another partner's body, be it their thigh, their knee, their butt, vulva, erection, strap-on, etc. Grinding is somewhat related to dry humping, but it doesn't always have to be dry. You can grind without clothes on. It can sometimes involve exchange of bodily fluids, which is why we're going to be talking about safer grinding later. And it is different from scissoring in the fact that you don't have to grind always vulva on vulva, grinding on different body parts, and also if you are grinding on someone with a penis, still grinding. Woo! Let's talk about why it deserves its own video. And to do this, I want to turn over to some really cool sex research. A research team looked at the sexual behaviors of women who have sex with women. But basically what this study found is that women who have sex with women, genital rubbing, which involves rubbing genitals, was the most common sex act, with over 99.8% of participants having participated in genital rubbing, which is overlapping with grinding. So especially among queer folks, genital rubbing or grinding is a super duper common sex act. If we're gonna do queer sex ed right, we gotta talk about grinding. Beyond the fact that grinding is pretty freaking common, when I went to start researching for this video, seeing whether there were any sex research on grinding or even scissoring, I found a surprising real lack of research. So like any good researcher in training, I went over to my Instagram and I asked folks who love grinding to tell me why they loved it. And if I wasn't 100% convinced that this video needed to happen before I asked that question, I definitely was after asking it. So let's talk about why grinding is really awesome. So first, let's start with just some anatomical or physiological reasons why it might be great. So most people who have vulvas orgasm through some type of clitoral stimulation, and grinding can be a really awesome way to get that clitoral stimulation or just stimulate erogenous zones. Consistent rubbing can feel really awesome. And like I said, for folks with vulvas, you can stimulate a larger surface area when you're grinding with a thigh or a knee and put a lot of pressure on not just the head of the clitoris, but stimulating the vestibular bulbs that wrap around the vagina and your whole internal clitoris externally by putting pressure by grinding. Beyond these kind of anatomical or physiological benefits, there are a whole bunch of others. Grinding can involve a lot of surface area contact. You are pressing lots of your body. You are pressing a lot of your body against partner or partners, so it can really create full body sensations in addition to creating a sense of closeness. People also talked about really enjoying the motion of thrusting as well as really pleasurable pressure or friction. There were also lots of psychological reasons why people liked grinding. They talked about intimacy and emotional connection. Another kind of psychological reason why people liked grinding was that it actually felt affirming of their sexuality, sexual orientation, gender. Because grinding, or more specifically tribbing or scissoring, is really associated with queer sex, participating in this sexual activity can actually be a turn on because it feels so gay or so queer, and I thought that was super duper awesome. Beyond this, there were a couple people that talked about how grinding in particular really suits their sexual needs. So you might like grinding if you like indirect stimulation of the clitoris or of your genitals, the head of the penis, etc. Especially if you are grinding with underwear or clothes, that can really give some awesome indirect stimulation of your genitals. For people on testosterone whose genitals might become extra sensitive, grinding can be a way to stimulate your genitals without it being too overstimulating or overpowering. And if you are another person who doesn't like taking your clothes off for other reasons, if you are on the asexual spectrum or just getting naked is not really your jam, grinding can be awesome. Again, you can grind with clothes on or with underwear on, and that can feel really great. Lastly, if you are someone who experiences vaginal pain from penetration, folks mentioned about how grinding can provide that thrusting sensation without penetration. That can be painful. I do want to note that, especially in terms of thinking about sex in terms of penetration or around kind of a cis-hetero model of sexuality, grinding can sometimes not be seen as a sex act in itself. And I would just like it to take this moment to say that grinding can absolutely be a sex act. Listen to all the awesome things that people found about grinding. I also asked people how often they do grind and how pleasurable it feels to them, and while people grinded on average, like sometimes they have sex, people also found it really pleasurable among the folks who answered on Instagram. So if you like grinding, feel free to talk to your partner about making it a regular thing that you do, or don't feel afraid to have it be full sex act in itself when you're getting sexy. Moving on to our favorite thing, talking about safer sex. Grinding and also scissoring or tripping can be a little bit tough in terms of thinking about safer sex. One of the most common things that I recommend for folks with vulvas who have sex with other folks with vulvas is dental dams, but dental dams are very challenging to maneuver in between bodies if you're grinding. So in terms of managing risk, your least risky option for grinding is to grind with clothes on or underwear. The next step you can do to manage your risk would be to get STI tested regularly and share those results with your partner. And from there, really the best thing that you can do is to be aware that there is a certain level of risk with grinding and to just communicate that with your partner and make sure that everybody is on the same page and agreeing to that level of risk. So that is all for this video. I hope you enjoyed me gushing about how great grinding or dry humping, scissoring, etc. is. Like this video if you like it. You can also, if you want to be a part of me doing some informal data collection, you can follow me on Instagram or Twitter where I do that. You can also subscribe if you are into this queer sex ed vibe and support me on Patreon. Also, leave a comment about what queer sex video you want me to make next. But yeah, that's all for me today. Have a lovely day. Can we just take a second to marvel in all of those amazing things about grinding? Just grinding doing the work.